Hello, everyone. The topic today concerns Florida wind mitigations and specifically how to measure a two-story roof to determine if it meets the requirements for HIP credit. Facebook is a huge resource for home inspectors to share information and help others. I know it helped me quite a bit when first starting out, and I'm still on it regularly, learning every day. What Facebook also shows is the lack of understanding on how to accurately do a wind mitigation. I put this demonstration together to help clear up some of the many misunderstandings of measuring a two-story roof for the HIP credit. Pause the video as needed to study some of the images and better understand the process. The HIP determination is the most difficult to determine because we as inspectors just don't fully understand how to measure correctly because of all the different and complicated roof shapes homes may have. Hence the purpose of this demo. First, let's see how valuable the HIP discount is for homeowners. This chart is from the Florida Office of Insurance Regulations and shows the wind MIT discounts available to homeowners. I've condensed it down to the areas that matter, and you can download it as well by going to the address that's written at the top. I'll add the link to the information box below. The top section is for homes built before the 1 March 2002 cutoff, and the bottom section is for homes built after the 1 March 2002 adoption of the 2001 Florida Building Code. You can see the difference between a roof marked as other compared to a HIP. The HIP roof discount is significantly more, therefore the reason we need to get it right. This is a two-story home I did a drone roof inspection on and is a mostly HIP roof with 1- and 2-story roofs. Let's figure out what's included and what's excluded to properly measure this roof to determine if it meets the insurance company's requirements for HIP roof credit. The excerpt for roof geometry directly from the form is not as clear as many would like, but proper interpretation helps us understand how to properly measure. I've bolded certain parts of the definition from the form to make it a little easier to read and understand exactly how to interpret this definition. The form defines roof geometry for us. It says, do not consider roofs of porches or carports that are attached only to the fascia or wall of the host structure over unenclosed space in the determination of roof perimeter. In the next slides, you'll see 4 different ways to measure this roof. I want you to study each option, and you can pause the video before the timer ends for more time. Considering the form's requirements to measure a HIP roof, do you measure the entire perimeter like option A? Now, option B is taking into account all HIP features to include the second floor's perimeter. Are all HIP features included? Option C is excluding the rear covered porch and is including the second floor's entire HIP perimeter along with the first floor's perimeter. And option D is excluding the covered porch's roof and is only including the perimeter of the outer footprint of the home's roof. So, given the explanation from the form's excerpt, which one did you choose? If you chose option D, you were correct. Now, let's explain it. So, we have to look closely at the back of the house and break down the definition again. Clearly says, do not consider roofs of porches or carports that are attached only to the fascia or wall of the host structure over unenclosed space in the determination of the roof perimeter. You have a HIP roof, granted, over an unenclosed porch. Because this roof is connected to the host structure and is not connected to the main roof in any way, this portion of the roof is not included in the measurements of the roof perimeter. Now, this is going to get a little busy, but I've tried to make it as elementary as possible. The final measurements are taken from the roof lines marked with gray lines using an offset measuring method. Remember, we've determined the rear unenclosed porch highlighted in red is connected to the wall of the structure and does not count in the HIP measurements. So you're going to line up with the roof line at point 1 and measure as straight as possible to point 2, stopping when you're in line with the edge of the farthest roof line. Then pick up your wheel and move to point 3. Line up with the roof line again and measure to point 4, and repeat until you're done, picking up your wheel as you line up at your next point each time. This is a good time to remind everyone or point out those who don't know and have been doing it wrong that any roof lines projecting back into the home must be measured independently to ensure those measurements are included in the total. These would be the 4 short arrows because these areas are not picked up while measuring using this offset method. I have to note that the small curved roof line in the front can't accurately be measured straight across, as this offset method details, because it doesn't pick up the few extra feet the curve adds. A curved roof line is rare, but do this long enough and you'll see one, so you need to understand how to get it right. If you use this offset method first and your final calculation result in an other roof by only a few feet, you can more accurately remeasure, ensuring you measure directly under the curved eave and recalculate. So you start again at point 1, measure over to a known point that you can pick back up when you move in this case, the edge of this corner here. Then you move in closer to make a more accurate measurement up to the curved roof line, follow that curved roof line around to the end, and then you have an accurate measurement. Don't forget to include any roof lines that project back inside the perimeter of the roof, as it does at number 13 and 14. It's a few extra minutes to do it again, but if it's close to being a full hip, then it's worth it to do it right for the client. This image is not to scale, but it provides realistic numbers to demonstrate measuring the roof perimeter and non-hip features. However, it is a perfect example of what happens when you do it wrong. I've added the perimeter measurements we got using the offset measuring method. Next, we have to measure all non-hip features, and this house has 2 gables. We use the same offset measuring method to get our total non-hip feature measurements. Just align yourself with one edge of the non-hip feature, in this case, a gable corner, and measure straight across to the other gable corner. Pick up your wheel and repeat for all non-hip features. I always take a pic of each of my totals to refer to for calculations. Next, calculate the non-hip total by dividing it by the total edge perimeter, and the result is an amount with a decimal. To make it a percentage, just move the decimal 2 places to the right. When measuring straight across the entire front, it takes this home's non-hip features over the 10% max, and the homeowner loses their biggest discount. So our first total is very close to that magic percentage at 10.1%. But when you properly account for the curved roof line, it may change things a bit. When we initially measured straight across the entire front, the curved roof section is only 10 foot across. But if you remeasure, accounting for the curve, the perimeter distance of the curved roof line is actually 15 foot. Recalculate your totals with the extra 5 foot and the homeowner qualifies for a hip discount because the non-hip totals are less than 10% of the total perimeter. Fill in the form with your numbers and mark it hip roof. We as inspectors are responsible for understanding when to include roof lines that are covering conditioned space and when not to include them because they are covering unconditioned space. Read the form carefully each time you complete it. I'm a firm believer in repeating things to yourself out loud a few times and you'll understand it better. There are a ton of roof styles you will encounter, and I may do another video showing how to measure for other styles. But understanding the basics and developing a process that ensures accurate completion of the form is important to ensure homeowners get what they deserve. Leave any questions in the comments and y'all be safe out there. Remember, gravity is turned on.